I don't want to pretend like this isn't a thrill for me. Andy Garcia, welcome to TCM. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. That's very kind.
I'm delighted that you came in here to talk about political movies. You've chosen one, culled from the list of the New Republic last year, top 100 most significant political films of all time. Number 71, Being There. Hal Ashby, 1979. Of course, Peter Sellers topped the cast. It didn't strike me at first as a political film. As soon as I saw the list, I was like, oh, I should have put Being There.
Yeah, it kind of sneaks in kind of as a comedy, you know, in a sense. Then you start to analyze the dynamics in which this whole thing hangs on, you know.
What draws you to the film?
Well, Hal Ashby, you know, who's always been a real inspiration to me.
Even as you were like coming up as an actor?
As I was coming up as an actor, all of his movies, starting from Harold and Maude on. I had the great privilege to work with him in one of his last movies, 8 Million Ways to Die. And because Being There was in my top 3 or 4 films, or 5 films, if you would say, and I would talk to him a lot about Being There. And, you know, Peter Sellers is someone that we all grew up with, who was also a big, you know, hero of mine as a young moviegoer. Before I even was aspiring to be an actor, Peter Sellers was someone that gravitated towards. So this movie was like a perfect storm between the Kaczynski novel that it was adapted from and putting Peter in that character and in that world. In the movie we were doing, we were improvising the whole film. On
In
a
8
daily,
Million Ways.
yeah, it was a totally improvised.
That's like an Oliver Stone script, right? Robert
Initially.
Towne initially, but Robert Towne like helped, uncredited, right?
There was like 3 different scripts, and
Yeah.
the Towne one was only like a beat outline.
Right.
So we were already starting to shoot, and we had to fill in, you know, the beats of the story, and it was very exciting. But when I talked to him about Being There, the first thing I said, you know, that movie compared to this movie felt like it was like Shakespeare. It was very precise. And he said something to me, I never forget, and he says, oh, no. He says, you know, yes, there was a script, but, you know, when Peter got really hold of the character, he would come up and say things constantly, you know, in the movie. And everybody knew that he was, you know, could say anything at any time. And everybody just, whatever he would say, they would justify it as the profound truth.
Right, which
yeah, so whatever he said.
That became.
And he said he wanted to reshoot the movie after 2 weeks of work.
Hal wanted to reshoot.
No, Sellers.
Peter wanted to reshoot Being There.
Because he said he didn't quite have the character, and Hal said, no, you got the character.
You got the character, yeah. And I'm no Hal Ashby expert. I saw the documentary, and I loved from The Landlord in 1970 through Being There in 1979, 7 movies in 9 years. They're all amazing,
Extraordinary.
right? Extraordinary films. And my impression of Hal is that he just couldn't figure out how to get along enough with the money people, right?
Yeah. He was a maverick, and he was sort of like a beatnik documentarian in a way, you know, being an editor first for Norm Jewison and won an Oscar for In the Heat of the Night, I believe.
That's right.
And he was very experimental in the work, from the Harold and Maude to Last Detail. And once I worked with him, I realized there was a lot of improvisation. And one of the things that I have taken to this day from Hal was that he would give the actors a lot of freedom. And he would say, I never pretend to know more about the characters than the actors do. And the scenes would happen, and the actors would contribute or whatever impulses they might have. And in our case, it was totally fly by the seat of your pants because there was no script. But the one thing that he never did was judge. The space he created was a totally improvisational, experimental space for the actors to work in. So if you do a take, he'd come up to you and he'd go like, that was interesting.
Right.
He goes, all right, we got that. Try something else.
Right.
Keep working.
But there was never a sense that you had just done it wrong.
Never judged. And I think that's the thing about Hal. He was very in search of something always. He's like, you guys play, I'm going to keep moving the camera. I'm an editor. I know he didn't care about overlapping. He didn't care about anything. He said, just you guys. And I think his movies have this resonance of human behavior.
Definitely.
That is very unlike many movies ever made, in a way.
Yeah,
they weren't overthought. They weren't overly designed. He was interested in, okay, we'll see what you guys got going, you know. He said every scene is like a starfish. And the objective of the scene that moves the story is at the core of the starfish. But from take to take, you can achieve that objective from any direction you want. But you have to achieve the objective or else the story stops.
Before we show Being There, Andy, is there something for people who've never seen it or people who've seen it 5 or 6 times that you think, as a huge fan of this movie, what's something to look for?
Well, there's so many, I mean, obviously the conceit that Peter has learned his entire behavior in life by watching television. And there's so many beautiful things that were maybe scripted, but I think also a lot of it had to do with Peter's own comedic imagination. It's a sublime performance.
All right, let's watch it. We have more to say afterwards. Andy, thanks very much. Here's the film from 1979, directed by Hal Ashby. Peter Sellers, Shirley MacLaine, Melvin Douglas, Being There. Back here with Andy Garcia. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. Great to see you.
My pleasure.
Andy has picked Being There. It came in number 71 on the New Republic's list of the 100 most significant political films of all time. You worked with Hal Ashby in 8 Million Ways to Die, which came out in 1986.
His last film.
His last film. Still a great opportunity to work with Hal.
Amazing, amazing. And of course, I picked his brain about everything, including a lot about Being There.
Because you already loved this movie.
Oh, and all of his films, and Bo Bridges, who was met during that time through Jeff, who was in The Landlord.
Right, which was Hal's first movie.
First movie, yeah. He used to tell me how he used to sleep in the cutting room at the old Laird Studios at night. He would never go home. But anyway, so he talked to me about the ending of the film where he walks on water.
Walks on water, right.
And his life is a state of mind. So apparently, Robert C. Jones, who was an editor and screenwriter who's uncredited, he also, I think, wrote Coming Home, if I'm not, or part of it.
He did. He's one of the writers on Coming Home, yeah.
So he called him and he said, "How's it going, Hal?" This is Hal talking to me. He called me, he said, "How's it going?" And I go, "It's going great." And, whatever Peter would do, everybody would justify it as the profound truth. And that's how we got through the day,
Right.
And he says, he could have walked on water and they would have believed it. And there was a beat and he said, "In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do." And they went back. Before they went back, he called Robert Downey Sr., who had an image in his movie Putney Swope, a man walking on water. He said, and he was a friend, and he said, "Robert, I'd like to use that image in my movie." And Robert said, "Hal, that's not mine, that's from the Bible." And he said, "Oh, yeah, that's okay."
I already stole it, yeah.
So they went back and they put snow on the ground, and then they did that, because they had Peter walk away from the funeral.
Right.
And I think the original ending, I could be wrong, but as I remember it, Shirley would possibly follow him, and she'd go, "Where'd you go, Chauncey? I've been looking all over for you." And he would say, I think the way he explained it was, "I was looking for you too, Eve." And then it would go away. But they had him walking away, so they picked him up, and he does the thing with the tree that's bent over, and then he walks out and he sticks the umbrella down. And then they cut to these outtakes where he's breaking character, which was such a bold thing to do in those days. In fact, Hal told me that he brought the print to the Mann's Chinese. It opened in Christmas Day at the Mann's Chinese Theater, and he brought the print with him that morning because he was tweaking with it. And maybe he put those outtakes in. I don't know what he did,
Yeah. Peter Sellers not pleased with the outtakes, right?
Well, my understanding was that he was not. He felt that showed him breaking character, and then in his eyes cost him the Oscar.
I think I know the answer to this. Did the crew like Hal?
Everybody loved Hal.
Everybody loved Hal.
There was nothing.
Except
the suits.
Except the suits, yeah.
That's
okay with
Well,
it.
the suits never got to talk to them, because if they showed up on the set, he just wouldn't come out of the trailer.
Right. Andy Garcia, thank you. This was really wonderful. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
Andy is done for the night, but the political movies continue here on TCM, as always, uncut and commercial-free.
Next on TCM, The Candidate, then Harlan County, USA, and later, The Manchurian Candidate, Freedom's Under Siege on TCM Tonight.